Where does the four-wheel underground suspension shine more? Creeping, crawling on the Rubicon, or going crazy fast out on Johnson Valley desert floor?
Yeah, good question. Honestly, it does great in both scenarios. Whether I'm going through the Rubicon or doing 50 to 60 miles an hour through washes at Johnson Valley, it's really impressive what the suspension does. I think that goes a lot to show how well it's engineered, how well the roll center is controlled, and how well the geometry all goes together. No matter what I'm doing, I feel stable. I feel predictable. It's fantastic.
That makes a lot of sense because they are designed to be great on and off road.
That's true. I do drive the rig to and from the trails as well. And I noticed on tight, windy mountain roads, I don't feel like I'm throwing the body off the chassis anymore. I just have one question.
What's that?
When are we putting some four-wheel underground parts underneath Samantha?
Soon, very soon. And I'm excited to do so. And if you are looking to move your vehicle from leaf springs to a linked suspension kit, make sure to check out fourwheelunderground.com.
Hey, Jimmy, do you use any mapping software when you go off-roading?
Yeah, I use Onyx Off-Road.
Oh, nice. I do too. Have you been seeing the updates they've been sending out recently?
Yeah, the maps are changing. They're getting rid of that green spaghetti and they're changing it up to something a little bit more colorful.
Yeah, as much as I love the neon spaghetti that was on there, they're actually making a really cool update that's going to make all the trails colored based on difficulty ratings, which makes it easier to explore the trails around you.
Yeah, I know how much you loved the neon green, but I think this is a good feature for them because now not only can you find a trail near you, but you can actually get an idea of its difficulty.
It is. It's a really nice change. That's one of the reasons why I like Onyx Off-Road and I've been enjoying using them is they're always looking for ways to make the app better. They're always rolling out updates, which all of them just makes things easier for when you're going out and exploring the trails around you.
So if you want to go out and explore and find trails near you, make sure to download the app Onyx Off-Road. Welcome one, welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like wheeling in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, maybe poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and hearing how awesome it is to snow wheel in tracks, then this is the podcast for you. How's it going, everybody? My name is Jimmy Jett, and welcome to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. And today I have a special guest in the studio. Everybody say hello to Tyler.
What up, everybody?
Tyler's back.
Guess who's back?
Maybe for an episode,
Back
maybe a little
again.
more. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, back, man. It's been a while. I was getting PTSD from not podcasting.
It really came down to the fact that you just didn't have a vent, right? You couldn't vent
Pretty
anywhere.
much. It's a matter of not having a vent, and then also like I've been cooped up in a house for 2.5 months, and
sure.
I need to get out and see people and do something.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I follow that. That's why you're like, hey, I've got a limited window. Should I come up there right now or should we do this virtually? I'm like, no, get up here. Get out of the house. Get over here.
Yes.
We'll figure this out. You know, maybe we'll just stop it now and we'll go outside and chainsaw some more. Who knows?
I brought my chainsaw and boots.
No, yeah.
Ta-da.
Oh, yeah. Chainsaw certified Crocs.
Yes.
Got
it. Forest Service approved.
Right. I saw the stamp on there.
I actually got a message from Ultra 4 Jones saying that he wears Crocs when chainsawing all the time.
I'm sure.
On fire lines.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Best thing ever wearing out in the fires is Crocs.
I can just imagine to just melt while you're walking through the area.
Like an ember falls on the top and it just melts your entire shoe away.
Yeah. No. I did do some welding in my Crocs.
I believe
over the
Does
past
it have
2 months.
pock marks in it?
I don't know. I don't think I got any of the embers on there. I got lucky, I think, but I was probably standing like away, leaning over awkwardly over what I was welding on.
Even like wearing shoes and socks, I'll feel the heat get through somehow, and you didn't have that problem in Crocs.
Yeah, it's
shocking.
Great. It's great. They're amazing for everything.
Yeah. So how you doing, man? You're live.
Holy shit, I'm alive. Barely.
Is the rest of the family alive too, or?
Funny story. We were actually talking about this the other day.
Okay.
Yesterday, I think. Time is a weird concept right now for me. But we were talking yesterday. I was like, I looked over at the secretary and I was like, I'm just curious.
What day is it?
Not necessarily that. We have had those conversations as well.
Yeah.
But I was kind of looking over at her. We were sitting in the living room. I was holding the kid at the time. She was taking a break. And I just kind of looked over and I was like, feel free to lie or tell the truth, whatever you want.
Yeah.
But
I like how this is starting already.
Do you feel changed? Do you feel like you're a mother? And she goes, no, not really. And I was like, good, because I don't feel like a dad. Like I don't feel like I'm super attached to this thing yet.
Okay.
Like the way I'm feeling is that like I'm a permanent babysitter at this point. Like my priority and my whole goal and focus right now is to make sure this thing doesn't die.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so I had one of those moments where I was sitting there and I was like, is it alive? Okay, it is alive. Okay, cool. We're doing good.
I'm still doing all right.
We're still doing okay.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's not a lot of interaction that goes on with a 1 month old pretty much by now, right?
There's zero interaction. Yeah. I mean, so maybe the mom and dad thing really comes in when like you can communicate with it to some extent. Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been in this, that situation. I went right into a 5-year-old. Yeah. So right. I skipped those poopy diapers and, having to change diapers all the time. So yeah, I don't know. I moved into it feeling like a dad because, my actions actually, had repercussion with the little one because she could see what I was doing and she knew it, like you can still cuss, right? That's not a problem.
Yeah.
But in a matter of months, or within a year or so, it might cuss too.
Yeah.
So then you like,
high
okay,
five.
now I need, I think I got that one. Where is it? There it is. Oh, music's down.
Perfect.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm only guessing, but I'm assuming that it comes down to interaction. Like, yeah, you are babysitting now. There's no interaction besides the baby smiling, laughing, giggling, crying. And no matter what you do, you can't affect it because they're going to do those things pretty much anyway.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like he's ever really he's not in the point where like he gets giggly or happy or smiling yet.
Okay.
Right. Supposedly that comes around 6 to 8 weeks.
So it's sleep and cry.
Sleep and scream bloody murder. And then in between that kind of whimpers here and there. I'm getting ready to scream or go to sleep.
Right. Feeding or pooping.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so Reid's doing well.
He's doing very, very well. That kid, man, he popped out of his mom like a cannon.
Yes.
Usually like first time labors, they can be upwards of 24 hours, 28, somewhere around there. And, the secretary went into labor and it was maybe 5.5 hours total from the point where we were like, okay, no, I think these are contractions to, oh my God, there's a kid out here now.
Right. There's a
baby.
kid in this world.
There's a baby in the room. 5.5 hours.
That is insane.
And
that is so fast for a first kid.
And he was 9 pounds, 2 ounces. So
that is big.
It's
too.
Big for a baby as well.
Yeah.
And so just shooting a baby out that big, that fast has some issues.
Yeah.
Brings on some issues. So the main one was that he had a lot of fluid still in him. There wasn't time. Apparently, as the baby works its way through a birth canal, it releases a bunch of the internal fluids so that once it comes out, it can cry and breathe.
Got it.
Air.
Yeah.
And since he came out so fast, he didn't really have that opportunity. So he was still full of a lot of fluid. They had to pump fluid out of him.
How do they do that? So like a syringe in the umbilical cord?
They have a pump they put down your throat.
Oh,
and it just pulls fluid out of your esophagus and out of your airways.
I remember that from my college days.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Those are called keg stands, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Other than that, he exceeded all of the tests, the health tests that they did on him. The only one they were concerned about was jaundice.
Right.
And that's like 80% of newborns or risk of jaundice.
Yeah.
But
I told my parents about that, and they're like, yeah, we were shocked. Neither one of you guys, me and my brother, had it. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
Because it's so common.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's
They
super
just
common.
look yellow.
Yep. So I was like, yeah, and we didn't really realize it because we were keeping the lights off in the room the whole time we were at the hospital. We stayed an extra 2 days at the hospital. And so we didn't really realize until we went and like walked up and down the hall once with him. And I got him out in the light and I was like, dude, yeah, he's yellow.
That's freaky.
Yeah, it's weird. But it all cleared up within a week of once the breastfeeding started. So
yeah, perfect.
Yeah. He's doing great. He's back up past his birth weight now because babies lose about 10-15% of their weight for the first week. So he's back up past his birth weight. He's putting on about an ounce and a half a day right now. So yeah, he's doing good. He's sleeping pretty well. He sleeps for 2 to 4 hours at a time. And if we reach that 4-hour mark, we wake him up and to feed him.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And then, he's going right along.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing his thing and you guys are trying to survive.
Exactly. We're just trying to survive right now. So,
yeah. And you guys are taking different shifts because every time I talk to you, you're like, oh, I'm on the night shift or, and she's on the day shift.
Yeah. So it's I'm kind of in charge from dinner. So I make dinner. And then after dinner, the secretary goes to bed around 8-ish, 8:30.
Sure.
And then I kind of take over and I'll either try and get the kid to go down to sleep or feed him a bottle or just occupy him because he's starting to stay awake more now.
Yeah.
And that'll continue on until random hours of the night. Like last night, I didn't get to bed until about 5 a.m.
Oh man.
So I'm just dragging right now. And I'm usually up around 9:30 to 10 each day. So she's up. When I go to bed around that 4 to 5 a.m. mark, she gets up and takes over.
Got it.
So she's taken over until I get up, and then I give her a break when I get up for about an hour.
Yeah.
And then she comes back, and then I go to work. So I have from 11 a.m. noon until about 5:30 to get work done
your day
and
job
run a
done.
business.
Yeah.
So it's super stressful right now, but I think it's mainly just because I'm running on 5 hours of sleep and trying to get everything done. I don't have any me time or time to get out of the house. And
sure.
I'm a super active person. I can't sit around and wait. I can't be inactive.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of being forced to be inactive for the past 2.5 months.
Right.
So.
But there is an end in sight to kind of to this, whether it's a year or two, but there's hopefully not that long, but it's still like once the baby gets more weight on them, they start sleeping more, once they start sleeping more, you get more, you become back to reality.
Yes.
And then once they get up to, 1 year old, then they really start becoming a lot more independent and walking around at that point. And so, there are these steps and goals and, things to look forward to try to get yourself more independent.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's going to be a super active toddler infant.
Good.
It's exciting, but at the same time, like shit.
Yeah.
What stuff is he going to get into?
Yeah. Do you already have the locks on all your cabinets and stuff yet?
No, we're going to have to though.
Yeah.
So he at 1 week old, when I hold him over my shoulder to burp him, he was hold his head up.
Yes.
And just be like, bloop, straight up and pushing away from my shoulder, doing little push-ups away. And I'm like, are you supposed to be able to do this at 1 week old? Like everything I've heard, this doesn't really happen until 2, 3, 4 months old. And
wow.
And he was able to do that for 30 seconds at a time. Now he can hold his head up indefinitely sitting up there, as long as we're not like moving around and throwing off his balance.
Okay.
So and he's getting to the point where like he can go from a squat from like, say we're lounged back leaning on the couch with him on our shoulder kind of thing. He will like squat down and then push himself back up. Oh my gosh. Like he's getting ready to stand up.
Yeah.
Well, by using us, but like he has the strength in his
doing
legs.
Those sits.
Yes.
Yeah. And sits and stands and stuff.
And he's 1 month old.
He's 1 month.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 weeks.
4.5, whatever it is. Yeah. So I'm not kind of like man, he's going to be running around, causing problems, causing chaos.
Oh yeah. At 7 weeks.
7 weeks old, right? So
it's going to be that freak of nature.
Yeah.
Sort of like his dad.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's all going really well so far. I'm not like, I don't want to say I had this preconceived notion of it being a complete train wreck. I don't feel like it's been a complete train wreck. He started getting a little colicky lately. Like in the evening time around 6 to 7 p.m., he just starts screaming bloody murder for an hour for no reason. We think we've got it nailed down to gas. We've kind of given him some degassers and around when he's kind of starts getting that fussy time period, and it's calmed him down a lot.
Okay.
So that's really been the big quote unquote issue
currently.
Yeah. Changing diapers has been no problem.
How many diapers are you going through a day?
Right now, I would say 10 to 15.
Wow.
Yeah. In a 24-hour period.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah. He goes, but I mean, he's eating every 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah. Right now.
So he's just going right through them.
Yep. And they have tiny tummies.
Yep. So
they get big when they feed.
Yeah.
They're cute.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned the cursing part, because I still curse a lot, right?
Okay.
And I'm one of the people that believes that cursing is part of the human language.
Yes.
Right. That is, if you're using it appropriately, and you're not using it to insult people, and you're not using it to belittle people, kind of thing, put people down. I'm a big proponent of using curse words.
Okay.
Quote unquote curse words. And so I've got to figure out how to teach a kid when it's being used appropriately and when it's not. Like I keep thinking, thinking of that scenario in my head of, eventually the kid's going to get called into the principal's office at school for saying fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come in there. I'm going to be like, I'm sorry I said it, but if you don't mind, how did he use it?
Right.
And if it's something like, I fucking hate homework or something, I'll be like, that's a proper use of the word. Like, yeah, you hate your homework, but you still got to do it. Whatever. I don't want to throw a fit about it, but the secretary is adamant about trying to cut down on curse words, on my cursing and swearing. And I'm like, no, it's part of the human language. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if you use it as a descriptor to help communicate what you're trying to communicate. And if a curse word fits that descriptor for what you're trying to do in that situation, use it.
Yeah. I think there's a time and place for all of it.
Yeah.
It might, maybe start the kid off on the, the fudge or dang it's or whatever. And then, when they get a little older, you'll be like, that fudge word actually means fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's going to happen. I mean, the kids are mimics of their parents. And, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. There's no hiding some of it.
Yeah.
Like you can protect the kid only so much.
Exactly. Right. That's the other way I kind of feel about it too, is like, I don't believe in bubble wrapping kids. I think that kids need to fail to learn. I think adults need to fail to learn a lot of stuff too. So like, I don't know. I'm not going to be into the realm of helicopter and bubbling the kid. I'm gonna be like, yeah, if you fall down and hurt yourself, then pick yourself back up. And it's a learning experience.
Good fall. Let's keep going.
Exactly. What'd you learn? Yeah. Don't turn left. Yeah. Right. Stepping off curbs, gravity works.
Gravity's a bitch.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, are we going to have to make up like a funny name, like the mini assistant? Are we going to have a mini secretary, or is this now that everybody knows the name,
everybody knows. We've already talked about the name. So I guess it's not really, I don't think we need to come up with a funny name. I talked with the secretary about that the other day too. And I was like, do you care that we call you the secretary? And she goes, I don't know where it ever came from. I was like, I'm pretty sure you gave yourself that name one time as like a joke.
Sure.
Because we're like, what do you want to be called? And you're like, I don't know. I feel like a secretary sometimes. We're like, perfect. There you go.
Yeah.
And she kind of said that she didn't care. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So. I know the assistant doesn't want her name out there. I know it's been slipped a few times, and I think it even got slipped when her and I did the episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But one or two people have pointed it out once or twice. So her name's out there, but she's in the line of, working with children, and
that's true.
She didn't want, I don't know, not that we do anything bad,
yeah.
but she didn't want the kids being able to find her through that, this medium, and I don't know,
find out how much she really drinks.
Yeah, right. Something like that. Yeah, doesn't want to listen to a drunk episode of the assistant me on the podcast. So that's it. And then the mini assistant, I mean, I don't think anybody cares, but it's just sort of funny.
It's just a funny thing. Yeah. So I don't know. His name's Reid. So Reid Barrett, after, Reid was a name that she really wanted. And I was like, I don't really know any Reids that I don't like.
Yeah.
So I think that name works really well. And then I got to have Barrett as the middle name. So
there you go.
Yeah.
It worked out well.
It did.
Nice. Yep. Well, welcome back. Good to see
you. Yeah. You too, man.
Yeah.
It's good to be back on a microphone and be able to chat with people and still interact with people.
Yeah. I think if time permits, one of those, I think we might do a snail mail this week.
We're going to try to. I think we have something like 16 voicemails here on the phone that,
Fantastic.
Yep.
Well, that's fun. And I'm glad to hear everybody's doing well.
Yeah.
Super stoked. Yeah. We talked about me coming down and the assistant coming down and, giving you guys food and hanging out. And I talked about that on an episode. So
that was awesome. I never realized how mentally taxing it is to make dinner. We're so like, I'm just trying to stay caught up with work and she's trying to stay caught up with keeping this kid alive during the day, that when I get done with work 5:30 sometimes, we're kind of like, oh, we're hungry.
Yeah.
We didn't think about this. And what do we want for dinner? We're like, oh, well, what do we have? And we're like, shit, we're out. We haven't gone to the grocery store in 4 or 5 days. What do we do?
Absolutely.
So
need more freeze-dried meals or whatever those are.
Yeah. Having you guys come over, and we've had a few other people come over and bring meals to have dinner and meet Reid, and has been amazing. It's been awesome.
Yeah, good.
So
good. Mm-hmm. And those meal trains at that stage of life are sometimes necessary.
Yeah. I remember when you had first said it, like before she had given birth.
Yeah.
And I was like, a meal tray, I don't know, it just sounds dumb. What do we need that for? And then now we're there, I'm like, it's amazing.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Please send food my way.
No, I can handle dinner. Now it's like, bring it. I don't have to do it. Help me.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
There's time. I think that, there's times like that you can help people, like with Sue, when they got diagnosed, there was people sending them Uber Eats cards and things so that they don't have to worry about food. They can just, deal with life because it's changed and they've got to figure that out. Like you guys, your life changed and you've got to figure it out, and you're caring for something that you've never done before. Don't worry about let a few other people give you guys food so you can stay alive too.
Yeah. I didn't foresee that being a problem. Like it's such a staple of life, right? It's such the basic necessity of life. But then like you come down to it and you're like, oh shit, what are we having today?
Yeah, exactly. Where, like I can message the assistant and be like, hey, can you pick up some popcorn on your way home or whatever? Like just, it's super easy. Just stop by the grocery store. You guys are home all the time. And you're like, oh, I've got to go outside today. I've got to go to the grocery store and face people. I haven't seen them. And maybe I should take a shower. And
then going to the grocery store at 5 p.m. when everybody's getting off work too. It's like, God.
Right.
So
too funny.
The little things in life you take for granted and you just don't really think about until you have to start thinking about it again. And it's not a priority, but it needs to be a priority. And it's we're having a lot of those little things like that come up. You're like, damn.
Yep. I understand. Like, oh man, we forgot to get dog food.
Yeah, right.
We got to feed the animals, not only the kid. We got to feed animals, water the plants, and feed ourselves. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
But, well, I'm glad you're smiling and laughing. At least that's a positive.
Yep. It's been a huge learning experience. We've learned the biggest thing that I'm still taking away from it is that there is no one size fits all. There's no manual for this.
Oh yeah. Right.
You have to just try something. And if it works, amazing. You got something to work on the first time, rejoice.
Yeah, right.
If not, try something else. And try something else and keep trying something else until it works. And then what works one day probably is not going to work the same the next day. You just try something else.
Yep.
And being able to adapt and be okay with adaptability.
Absolutely. You have like your 5 things that you constantly try, and you always, number 1 works a lot, but if it doesn't, then you fall back to the one that worked last time, and then you keep kind of like, you figure it out, and then you're like, oh yeah, this one time, this one worked. And oh, it's working now. Okay, great.
Don't question it. Just do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anything else you want to talk baby talk, or you have anything you want, any topics on baby talk you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it was the biggest, I think, story from it all that was just crazy was just how quick the labor and delivery went.
Yeah.
The nurse in our room didn't believe us.
No, you said the nurse in the room was walking out, and you're like, hey,
something's happening.
The baby's coming. Hurry up.
Yeah. And
turn around.
The baby happened to be crowning as the nurse was walking out of the room.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't know. It was just crazy. It was chaos for
5 hours.
Solid. Yeah. Yeah. She kept telling us, stop pushing. You can't push yet. You're not dilated. And turns out she was dilated enough to be able to push, but she was like telling us, do this labor circuit up on the wall.
Yeah.
That they have this poster of that's like, go do 10 minutes of lunges and 10 minutes of dancing and 10 minutes of exercises and 10 minutes of exercise ball on the bed, blah, blah, blah. And we're sitting there like, her contractions are a minute and a half apart. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You can't go do all this. And you know how what her contractions are doing. You got her hooked up to a monitor.
Right.
So
I'm going with it was the Prego pizza.
Yeah. I mean, we had the Prego pizza on Friday. I think we talked about that. We got it on a Friday.
And then the last time you were on, you said that you were going to go have the Prego pizza. I think it was. Or maybe that was Friday, and then we recorded on Tuesday.
I think we recorded again Tuesday. But yeah, we had the Prego pizza on Friday, and then the Reid came Tuesday night, Wednesday morning at 3 a.m. So
I'm blaming Prego pizza.
You're blaming Prego pizza. Nice.
Yeah. All that garlic, just he didn't want it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, if I'd known that, I would have just like fed her spoonfuls of garlic.
Yeah, right.
No, that pizza was really good.
Yeah.
Though.
But yeah, so the secretary is doing well.
She's doing really well. She's still recovering. She went in for a doctor's appointment yesterday, and she still has probably about another few weeks of recovery to go on, but she's up and moving around and going on walks, and she's went on to the doctor's appointment by herself. So that was the first time she went anywhere by herself.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise it's been me kind of taking everybody out.
Right.
So yeah,
she left you alone enough to care for the child.
Yeah.
That means something.
Yep.
She trusts you a little bit at least. Okay.
Yeah. It's still alive, right? So we're doing good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. She, I know she had some complications, slight complications at birth because of the speed and the size of that child.
Yeah.
But it was still a natural birth, which was
no
the plan.
Medicine,
no medicine, nothing.
Meds,
yeah. She got past the point of no return.
Yep.
There was just some minor complications that happened with that, but, it sounds like she's healing well and things are going well. And the female body, I'm not going to go into it because I don't know enough, but yeah,
dude, it's crazy
what they can do. I don't get it.
It's so crazy. I'm like, no, never, ever would I ever want to sign up for that.
No, I know. But it's funny. And I'll tell you this now, because I think you'll get the humor out of this is a lot of moms want to have a second child.
Yeah. I don't understand that.
Right. I never, ever, ever want to get kicked in the balls again.
Right.
So
there's no point of you like 2 years later after getting kicked in the balls. You're like, that wasn't so bad. Yeah. I'll do it again.
Right. So I'm going to go with getting kicked in the balls is worse than childbirth.
Yes. I'm with you on that one.
I've said that and I've got so many sour looks from all the moms. They're like, you don't understand. I'm like, I've been kicked in the balls.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. That's a good analogy. I mean, it's
sort of,
sort of. Yeah.
I'm not growing something inside of me and having something like the size of a watermelon or whatever come out.
Yeah, I don't know. That's crazy.
I've heard, and I believe this is about right. It's about equivalent of a grape coming out of a man's penis.
Oh, what? Oh my God.
So if you can imagine that.
No, I can't, Jimmy.
No, thank you.
No.
All right. On that note.
Yeah. On that note,
this weekend is the Sully Bun Benefit.
Yes.
We've got that coming up. Are you going to be able to make an appearance?
We'll be out there. I'll be out there for about an hour.
Okay.
We'll see how long the kid lasts.
Yeah.
But we went out to Prairie City last weekend for the NorCal Rock race.
Oh, cool.
So that was his first outing. Put him in his little kangaroo pouch that I have. It's like a harness just on the front. They put him in, wrapped him up in my sweater too. And he just slept the whole time.
Perfect.
He just knocks right out in car rides in his car seat. So pulling him out of the car seat and putting him in the harness, he just stayed aslip.
Excellent.
While we were out there.
Easy.
So I'm hoping that is kind of how it works again this weekend. But yeah, we'll be out there. There's kind of like a little car show going on. You can enter your car and then people vote on it. And then there's you win some prizes if you're the winner.
Yeah,
so,
there's like a rock crawler, overlander, mall crawler,
and daily driver
or something like that.
So I'm going to enter the Forerunner on the tracks in the daily driver category and see what happens.
I can speak from experience. That would not be a daily driver.
It does not work very well.
No. Just the minuscule amount of pavement that I had to drive over to get to the snow.
It's very rough.
It aligned my spine.
Yes, it does. It is not gentle driving on pavement.
No.
So yeah, the benefit's going on this weekend.
Yep.
So come on out. We're expecting something like 300 people there.
Yeah.
If not more.
I'm excited.
Should be a good time. Metal Cloak's going to have the CTI trailer out there. So if you want to put your rig up on and find out what you score on the CTI trailer, do it.
I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to get Bobcat out there and put it on that.
Yeah.
Because I think it'd be fun to test it and kind of compare. Because you tested yours. You tested Kermit before you did your suspension work.
Not on the CTI.
Oh.
Just on the forklift.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'd have to put the tires on.
Yeah.
And in order to get it on the CTI, I think.
Well, I was trying to
let me put it on the CTI with tracks.
I don't know. Probably. Why not? I mean, you did. The problem would be driving up there if they would let you do that. But
yeah.
I don't know.
I'll ask Will. I'll text Will real quick.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, the CTI trailer is going to be out there. There's going to be the car show that's going on. There's a massive raffle that's happening. If you guys have raffle prizes, we're still kind of doing a shout out for raffle prizes. At this point, just bring them to the event.
Yes.
And we'll just put them on the raffle table. No need to send them in or tell us what they are. Just bring them on out and we'll just include them in the raffle. But there's all kinds of crazy raffle prizes, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's, I think, 2 pallets full of stuff right now.
Dang.
So
yeah, Moreflate's got stuff. Snail Trail 4x4 is going to donate some gear wrench tools. Snail Armor is going to donate a panel. There's a lot of stuff. Is Cody Addington donating
he was donating a car panel, autograph panel. Yeah.
Autograph panel from the Orange Dragon.
The Orange Dragon.
What did who was it that called it something funny?
The Red Dragon.
No. It was.
Oh, who was that?
It was the wrong seat guy. Chris Ray.
Yeah. Rhea. Chris Rhea.
Yeah.
What did he call it? I forget what he called it now. Yeah, he had a great
Clapped
name
out
for it.
Dragon or something.
Clap Dragon.
Wasn't it something like that?
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, you can win an Ultra 4 rigs panel signed by Cody Addington. The whole bunch of stuff. Plus, you can drive around.
You can go play around in the 4x4 area. We have the 4x4 area, the pits area, and another area kind of all reserved for it. So.
Yeah. Check the weather. Right now, there are signs of rain on that day.
Yes.
So just check the weather. Come prepared. If it is raining, just prepare to get muddy.
Yep.
But we're going to be out there. So
the event's still going on. Yep.
Rain or shine, we will be there.
Yep. And all this is to help raise funds for Sue and her adventure with cancer here moving forward, and her family and everything. So come on out, support her, support the family, and hopefully we'll see you guys out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another reminder for you guys, June 1st is the Marlin Crawler Celebration of Life out at the Clovis Rodeo Fairgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
I had to check that one because I looked Clovis Fairgrounds and I didn't see any. So it's the Rodeo Fairgrounds.
Rodeo Fairgrounds, got
and
it.
they are in Clovis, which is in the Fresno area. So mark that on your calendar. Come out to that. It's going to be a fantastic event as well.
Mm-hmm.
I did see that Marlin Crawler, the corporate company, is posting a lot more about that event right now.
Oh,
so
cool.
Check that out too.
Yeah, that's. Are we doing anything for 505 years?
I don't. Nothing as 5 more episodes?
Yeah, 5 more episodes.
I don't know. I have no idea.
We haven't talked. I've been a little sidetracked.
Yeah,
so.
we've got 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
500th episode,
Mm-hmm.
and 5-year Patreons.
Oh, that's right.
Snail Squad members
Yeah.
coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got we have no idea. We'll do something. I don't know what it is. We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be on near or around our 500th, but we'll do something fun.
Cool.
For sure. I think it still happens in May, right? I mean, because I'm leaving next week
Mm-hmm.
for Cruise Moab, and I didn't want to be gone. So next week would be 6 and 7. So I'll be back. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Maybe we'll have to do that one in studio, and we'll record it. Video it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
We'll figure that out. Cool. Yeah. And then let's see. This month's giveaway is 2 gift boxes from Snail Trail 4x4 Us. We are donating those to 2 lucky winners, or a lucky winner is going to win a gift box, and we've got 2 winners available.
Nice.
I'm always confused on how to say that.
Yep.
I haven't announced what the gift boxes are yet because right now they're in my living room waiting to get packed.
Okay.
So I haven't said anything about them yet.
Okay.
But my goal, and I said it on a previous podcast, my goal is they will be packed and delivered to Morflate before I leave for Cruise Moab.
Okay.
So I'm leaving Tuesday morning early.
1 week from today.
1 week from today.
So,
I am leaving.
Right. Nice.
Yep. Well, with that, do you want to talk about the rock races a little bit, and then I'll jump into stealing Kermit?
Sure. I mean, the rock races, I didn't do anything with the rock races. Like, I just went out there to see people.
Yeah.
I knew that a bunch of my friends, a bunch of our friends, we have joint friends out there, were out there. And so I just went there and looked around for everybody and found everybody, found Eric Dolly,
cool.
Hanging out. Ozzy was out there. Sarah and Ryan were there. James and Rhonda, Carlos, Tac One Fab, Mike Smith was out there doing recovery. Got to see him. George Unleashed 4x4.
Oh, cool.
Came out. So I got to say hi to him and just kind of get the kid out of the house. Right.
Sure.
And get him see what he does outside with a bunch of people in the sun at outdoors kind of thing. So he did awesome. It was really awesome to see everybody. I get to kind of catch up and excellent. Visit and hang out with people.
You talk to others.
Yes.
Be outside around other people and not cooped in a house.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
I get it.
So I did that. My birthday was April 6th.
That's right.
So that was, you took the Forerunner out for my birthday.
I did. I realized that when I got told, reminded that it was your birthday. And I'm like, I'm driving home right now from wheeling his Forerunner on his birthday.
Which
like,
was
what a great present.
Yeah, it was good because like I wasn't going to get to use the Forerunner this year with the track. So it was fun to be able to see the videos and the photos of you playing around with the Forerunner and seeing what it was doing out in the snow. So that was cool. My sales manager, production, Ryan, took me out to the shooting range on Sunday.
Oh, cool.
Because I got a new rifle that I wanted to get sighted in. So we went out to the range and got that sighted in, and that was fun. And then let's see, from there, I built a bracket for baby monitor because we wanted to put a video camera, the monitor for the baby monitor, up on the wall overlooking the bassinet and the crib. But the secretary didn't want any holes in her wallpaper that she put up.
Oh yeah.
So I had to do it off of the windowsill, the inside of the window. And so I had to build this bracket to come off the window, come out across and hold the camera at a certain way to be down, but then also blend in with the wallpaper. So that was when I was welding in the Crocs.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
So I did that. Other than that, I haven't really done too much work on vehicles because it's just been, the Forerunner's been on the tracks. Ryan got to take the Forerunner out for his birthday weekend.
Yep.
Inverted a track.
Yeah.
So now I know that we need to redo the limiting chains in the rear at least.
He shortened them one link for when I went out.
Okay.
So
you didn't have any issues?
I didn't have any issues.
Okay.
And the limiting chain worked on the front, and we can get to that in a little bit.
Okay. Sounds good. So yeah, I think I need to redo the limiting chains. If he shortened it and it did fine, maybe I won't, but I realized that where we have the limiting chain in the rear, it's both chains come off of the track front and forward, right?
Yep.
To a center point.
Yes.
And that center point is it's almost at the fulcrum point, the rotational point of the tracks in the hub, right?
Sure.
So the chains are not doing a ton to really limit the rotation of the track to not invert because it's so close to that fulcrum point of the track itself.
I got you.
So I think I need to move and separate the trains out to be, so they're not at the fulcrum point and they're creating more anti-leverage.
Right. So would you move them inboard?
No, I would keep them inboard versus outboard about the same. What I would need to do though is move it from the fulcrum point to have the two chains go from the fulcrum point out to the outsides.
So for the most part, you're attaching them to the axle housing.
Yes.
On the rear.
Yep.
Right. And so you're saying the fulcrum point is you're using the more or less roughly the bottom of the axle housing. Right?
Essentially the hub. The hub is your fulcrum point.
Yes.
Of the tracks being able to invert and spin around. Mm-hmm. And so where I have the chain put, it's on the bottom of the axle tube. So that is 3 inches below the actual fulcrum point.
Yeah.
So I would either, in order to keep the track from being able to spin around that fulcrum point, I either need to lower the chains even more, which I'm like, I don't want to have stuff hanging down super low below the axle housing, or I need to move the chains out so that the distance at which the chain allows the track to move is a big difference from the focal point distance.
Okay. And so when you say out,
so essentially I would move the front one. I'm thinking about moving it to the link, the lower link.
Oh, okay.
And then the rear one, I'm thinking about moving back to the shock mount because my shock mounts kind of come out away from the axle housing on the rear.
Got it.
So I'm thinking about moving them there.
I was thinking that you could, because I was looking at it and I was thinking you could build if you put a rod across from the axle housing to your rear shock link where the 4-wheel underground suspension one drops.
Okay.
If you put a rod across there and just made a triangle, then that you could just use the carabiner over
and hook
the
it
top
on that.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably work too. So yeah, I think there's lots of different ways to kind of set them up. It's just, how do you want to do it?
Right. Absolutely. You need to kind of just figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's that. And now that the forerunner is going to be off tracks here, there's no more snow really in the forecast. So don't know if I'll do it this year or if I'll wait till next season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No need right now.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, it was fun. Snow wheeling was fun.
Nice.
It was wild and crazy.
Snow wheeling is amazing, Jimmy.
Yeah. The day was like the perfect day that I went up. So I went to they were somewhat calling it the Rubitracks Invitational.
Yeah.
But it was just really a get together of a bunch of people that had Rubitracks. Mm-hmm. But it had Scott, the owner, and then it had 2 gentlemen, Kyle, and I always messed his name up. I want to say it was Darren, but we called him D. Okay. Anyways, and they're from British Columbia.
Oh, cool.
So there was 3 Canadians down there.
Wow.
Yeah, because did I say Scott's from the East Coast, Canada.
He's like Nova Scotia area, isn't he?
Prince Edward's Island.
Okay.
Yeah. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward's Island, that area. And then Kyle and Dee were from British Columbia. And then there was Dimitri from Stellar Built, and then Nick from Avalanche Technical.
Cool.
And then me. But everybody but me were up there on Friday. Okay. They all went up Friday and drove in Friday during the day, hung out at this lodge. There's the Great Mountain Lodge, Great House Mountain Lodge, something like that. There's a name for it. And it's fucking fantastic spot. Anyways, they all got up there on Friday, hung out, drank, had a fantastic dinner. I was just doing a day trip. So I went up just Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up at like 5:30, hit the road by 6, summited at like 7:30 at Donner, cruised down, was at the cabin by like 9.
Nice.
Uneventful, but your trailer and the 4Runner are heavy.
Oh, really?
Oh my God.
It's about 10,000 pounds.
Clifford was unhappy.
Oh, wow.
He was fine, but he was just, he was slower than normal.
Okay.
Yeah. Normally I can hit that really big grade, up towards like Blue Canyon or whatever.
Yep.
I can hit that at like 55.
Mm-hmm.
I was 45
with
that your setup on there. But
okay.
it was heavy. And I was also a little worried because it just snowed the other day. So I was kind of concerned about snow levels and whether I'm going to need chains or if it's going to work. And you're like, well, I can give you my truck. It's 4-wheel drive. And I'm like, but I still might need if I need 4-wheel drive, I'm going to need chains.
Yeah.
And we don't have chains for any of the rigs, truck and trailer chains. Yeah. So I was kind of like, all right, is it clear? And so it did clear up on Friday afternoon and chain control was dropped. And then I checked it in the morning when I woke up and it was still open.
Okay.
And
cool.
so I bombed over the hill, unloaded in the parking lot. Oh, when I showed up in the parking lot for where this over snow group area is for parking, almost every snowmobilist came over and looked at the 4Runner. Yeah. Everybody that was there at one point at least came over and said hi.
Nice.
And checked out the 4Runner. And they're like, are you going out? I'm like, yeah. They're like, that thing's so cool.
I'm just driving it around as a billboard.
Right? That's what I should do. I'm like, I need to borrow it for another week. And I just put Snail Trail 4x4 podcast on it.
Right.
So that was pretty funny. Unloaded it, which was fine. And I unloaded I unloaded farther away than I wanted to, but there was already a whole bunch of people there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to drive on the pavement for just a little bit to get to the snow. I really wanted to literally back the trailer up onto the snow.
Oh yeah,
and
just
unload it and then park the truck and trailer. But there were so many people there that I just felt bad if I would have taken like the
half
entrance.
of the lot to get in there.
Exactly. So, and then I started driving up towards the lodge and I was like, all right, this thing's working good. It sounds good. We're wheeling. Everything's great. Except for his oil pressure.
Oh yeah.
The oil pressure is super low.
Yeah.
And like I would like tap the throttle and then I saw the oil gauge move and I was like, this isn't right. This isn't good. I stopped. I looked around. I'm like, yeah, it's below L.
Yeah.
And I was like, something's happening. So I like hop out. I pop the hood. I'm looking at the oil pump. I'm like, the pump's spinning. Everything's looking good. Maybe it's not working inside.
Did you pull the oil dipstick?
I pulled the oil dipstick. I knew you cut it off. Yeah. I know it was cut off, but there was only a hair of oil on it. Yep. So I actually cracked one of the oil things in the back and added like a quarter until it started showing up right at the full mark.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, so I know there's oil in here.
Yeah.
Now the question is it moving? Like, I don't know.
Is it going around?
And so I hit the throttle a few times and it would rise and it would get up to L at like 3,000 to 4,000 RPM.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
yep.
I'm going at 3,000, 4,000 RPM till I get to the lodge.
Yeah.
Because I know they have
Gotcha. That's why you're running it out that much.
Yeah. I was like, cause I know there's some pressure at least. And then I got to the lodge and I talked to Nick Bailey and I was like, yeah, everything seems fine, but his oil pressure is super low. And he's like, oh, that's normal. And 3-4 swapped 4Runners. Yep. My 4Runner's the same. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you want to call Tyler and confirm? I'm like, yes. Can I use your phone?
Yeah.
So I called you and you're like, yeah, that's fine. That's normal. No problem. Like it is what it is. I'm like, okay, good. Yeah. And then, that was like fine.
Yeah. Cause with the 3-4 swap, the dashboard wants to see a certain amount of resistance from the oil pressure sensor.
Right.
But the 3-4 oil pressure sensor is a different resistance sensor than the 3.0 or the 22 RE. And so you have to end up adding in a resistor in line with the gauge, right? The sender unit. And I was like, I don't want to pull apart the dashboard and pull the tack and everything out of there just to do that. And I was like, I just pull the dipstick. If I'm really concerned about it, like I'll just pull the dipstick. But if you went on a cold start, it will read up about a quarter pressure. And that's how you know there's still oil in it. So you just pay attention on cold start and you're good. But yeah, cause you would normally just pull the dipstick and you'd be like, oh yeah, there's oil in here, and look at the dipstick. However, because I did a rear sump in order to clear all the steering components on the oil pan, the dipstick comes in. I didn't drill a new hole for the dipstick the way you're normally supposed to do it. So the dipstick goes down to the sump area. It comes in up at the top area where there's the oil pan is high clearance. It's shallow right there. And so, you just kind of look, and if there's any oil touching the bottom of the dipstick, you're good.
Right.
So,
So, and there was just barely. I was like, I don't know. So I raised it up to that full mark.
Yeah.
And so that was that. And then Dimitri had a problem with brakes. I'm just letting you know this later. Later that day, Dimitri had a problem with brakes. So we used some of your brake fluid.
Okay. That's fine. That's what it's there for. It's there to be used. That's like all my stuff. Like people, I don't get the concept of building a vehicle and then being like, I just spent $50,000 on this vehicle. I don't want to take it out and hurt it or anything.
Right.
I'm like, no, I just spent a bunch of money on this vehicle. Someone needs to take it out and use it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So
then I met up with everybody, shook hands, said hi to, everyone that was there, got to meet the Canadians. I knew all the Americans, so I got to meet the Canadians. And then we decided to go out on a run, and we drove out, and we went back down towards staging for a little ways. And then we took a fire road or another service road up and away.
Okay.
And so one of the things I learned about tracks was the tracks like spinning, like they like moving.
Oh, okay.
And at slower RPMs, it just isn't smooth.
Huh. Okay.
And so at like going slow and slower RPMs, it's just bouncy and really jittery. Like your whole Forerunner goes, like it makes all these noises. But then when you get up to like a speed, like on plane or whatever, it's smooth. It runs great.
Okay.
And so I was leaving, and I knew it was like, okay, I know there's oil pressure in there. I don't need to like force anything. But we were going uphill, and I was like cruising along going, and I looked down and the temperature gauge is going up. I'm like, oh no, like what now? And so I radio up and I'm like, hey guys, I'm almost to the overheating part. Can we pull over, just take a quick break? I'm sure it'll cool down fast. And they're like, okay, yeah, sure. No problem. And we were like pretty much at summit or cresting the hill at that point.
Yeah.
And Nick was like, yeah, we stopped, and he's like, hey, just to let you know, like it's downhill after this. I'm like, cool. All right. Like, give me a minute. And the Forerunner cools down super fast.
It goes quick. Like I still don't understand why it heats up after wrapping the crossover pipe, and putting in the 4-core radiator, having the fan come on earlier. It's still warming up. And I will I keep a temperature gun in the door there, the driver door. And if it starts heating up, I'll jump out real quick and temperature everything. And like the upper radiator hose is only like at 220, 217 typically. And the lower radiator hose is around 160.
Yeah.
But the temperature gauge and the ECU and everything is seeing 240, 230 to 240. And I'm like, I don't understand it.
Where's the sensor?
The sensor is right at the, for the sender unit for the gauge. It's right in the back of the block where that crossover pipe is.
Yeah. So my personal thought is that because it's shoved back, it just can't, the air can't get around it.
And so it's just retaining and holding heat right there where the sensor is.
So hot back there that, what we should try sometime? We need to go to the snow and test this out. We should just put a fan back there to just blow air in the engine bay, just circulating behind the engine, and see if we can just keep it cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Worth a try.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so we took a short break at the top of the hill. Everything cooled down within a matter of minutes, and we drove over the hill, drove down. We're still on a track, and then all of a sudden Nick Bailey just cuts it hard. Driver drops off this ledge and goes out into this like big open clearing area, pure powder everywhere. And I was right behind him. No, Dimitri was next, and then I was next. Dimitri went and took a harder line down, and then I was like, well, this is a badass Forerunner. I can't. So I followed Dimitri, third gen taco, down the hill. and it was totally fine. And then I veered away out of their tracks and I was cutting fresh powder myself. And I'm like, this is fucking awesome.
It's
like,
so cool.
This is rad. Like, because your tracks are so freaking wide, snow's flying everywhere. You know, I'm only doing like 5 miles an hour or something like that. And it's just snow up on each side. And, you know, you're just cruising along and you can see out. It's not like blank snow flying at, you know, white out conditions on me with the tracks, but I can see vine and, you know, I was like still moving and things are going well. And in my head, I'm like, if I would have dropped off of that with Bobcat on tires, I would have not gotten to my rear axle. Like I would have fallen into the snow and stopped. Yeah. You know, immediately just too deep, fell down. And with these tracks, man, it's just like bloop, bloop. And you just keep going and it's no stopping you. It's crazy.
They're pretty cool, man. I still haven't gotten to drive the 4Runner on the tracks, but I've driven Dimitri's Tacoma on tracks. And it is super cool how much you just kind of stay up, almost like what you said, like being on a plane, right? Yeah. It almost feels like you're up on a plane. But the downside to tracks is what you encountered later.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll get to that in a little bit.
But like, and it's like, as long as they're working, and they're not inverting and they're not digging, they're amazing.
Right.
But that means for off-roading though, especially up in the Sierras where we have these tight trails where we can go off-roading on tracks over snow travel, that you end up with a lot of washouts, water bridges, snow bridges. These little crevasses that kind of go down. You have this really steep descent with a really sharp incline within the same length of your vehicle.
Yes.
And tracks are not good at that.
No, they're not.
And so it's kind of like, you got to pick, they're awesome. They're amazing, but they definitely have their weaknesses if you're not paying attention.
Yeah. So we hung out in the meadow for a while. We just sort of shot the shit, talked to everybody, kind of got to know everyone. We had some guns and we shot some guns. And then a white Suburban, like a newish white Suburban on tracks comes pulling up.
Okay.
And it's the owners of the lodge.
Okay.
You know, and I'm like, look at that freaking school bus on tracks. That thing's so badass. And Nick was like, yeah, they've never even taken that off the hard pack. And then all of a sudden it boom, drops down, comes out into the valley with us, you know, and so now we had there was a JL, there was a Gladiator, there was the Tacoma, Nick Bailey's 4Runner, and your 4Runner, and then a white Suburban. So we had six rigs all on tracks.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really neat. So we hung out for a little bit after that, and then we decided to go back to the lodge and have lunch. And on the way back, Nick Bailey just drives up a wall, more or less, and drives up into the powder. Because he was looking to drop one of the Canadians off so he could snowboard down the mountain to the main road in. Yeah. And then we would pick him up down there. So he drove up there and he didn't find anywhere really good to drop him. So he turned around, but before he turned around, I was already on my way up.
Okay.
And so that was interesting. That was a little bit of a learning curve. And Scott, the owner of Rubitracks, was sitting in the rig with me. So it was perfect because I was like, what gears? Like, how should I attack this? Do I need to be at low gears? Do I need to hit it with speed? And he's like, no, let the tracks do the work.
Okay.
So I put it in 4.7 and first gear.
Okay.
And I went up for quite a ways, but then all of a sudden I like slid out of Nick's tracks and into the actual powder.
Okay.
And it wasn't really going. So then I reversed and I went at it more perpendicular. And I attacked it and it was going, but it was slow. But it was one of those scenarios. I have sand in my mind of like, this is what I envisioned in sand because I've done more sand wheeling, but it's where it's spinning and you're digging down, but at that same time, you're also pulling the sand in front of the tire and you're pushing it behind the tire. And so I was moving up continuously, but I could literally see the snow like just being pulled, like the claws of the treads working, you know?
Yeah.
And it was slow going, but it made it up this quite a steep little hill.
Nice.
To get up. And then once I got up and over the main ridge, everything was fine.
Nice.
Started following Nick's tracks, and then all of a sudden he comes back the other way. He's like, "Don't go back there; it's really tight." I'm like, "Well, what am I supposed to do now? Reverse, like back down this hill?"
Uh-huh.
And so I ended up doing like a 4 or 5 point turn up there, and that wasn't even that bad.
Nice.
So that was fun. And then we went back to the lodge, and when we went back to the lodge, there's a huge berm in front of the lodge. And and Nick went over the berm, and then the Gladiator went to go over, and they're like, "You're too low and too long. Like, don't even do it." And then they're like, "But you can do it, Jimmy." And I was like, "Okay." So then I went up and over, and on the way down, my driver's side was totally fine, but the passenger side nose of the tracks went straight down into the snow.
Instead of lifting,
instead of curving up and and getting to the top.
So it
started digging itself down.
That's a track issue.
That's when the limiting chains work.
Oh,
so your front ones are fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So Nick was around the edge in his rig, and he was like, "You're digging down and you're at your limiting chains." And I was like, "Okay, so what do I do?"
Yeah, how do we solve this problem?
Yeah. And so he's like, "Put the lockers on and try to back up." And so I did, and I started to back up, but then all of a sudden I hear this dunk, 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 dunk. And I'm like, what is that? And it's literally
belt was skipping.
What?
The belt was skipping.
The tire or the metal driver of the belt, the sprocket was skipping on the belt.
Yep.
The belt wasn't skipping. I mean, you could kind of see it one way or another.
Yeah.
The belt wasn't moving.
Yeah.
The gear drive was moving.
Yeah.
And Scott said that's sort of a positive and a negative. He said it's sort of a fuse. Like, you're in trouble if if that skipping noise happens.
Fair. Okay.
Right. And so then you have to, like, if you're in that scenario and you hear that pop, 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 stop,
get out and
evaluate what's going on. Yeah. Don't try to push through it because you're having this issue.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I reversed a little ways, and then I tried to turn and hit it again. And they're like, nope, same problem. So then I reversed again. They dug it out and put a max track thing under there, right under the nose of the track. And that was it. That pulled it up and over.
Nice.
And so it just pushed it away. And then I drove out, and then there was a huge meadow of fresh powder in front of the lodge, and I made a mess of the beautiful meadow.
So I'm curious if because I know something about Nick's tracks that we haven't talked about yet.
Correct. I know where you're going with this.
And I'm curious if you had went over that berm and done your own tracks.
If I still would have had problems.
You still would have dug down, or if it would have kind of came out, or being in his track being lower caused you to dig, because my tracks are not the same as Nick's tracks. No. Nick has a very special set of almost one-off tracks.
Yes.
That Scott made him.
Yes. He has the front buoy wheel. What do they call those?
Bogey wheel.
Bogey wheel. Mm-hmm. The very front bogey wheel is higher up than yours. Mm-hmm. And so he has more of an attack angle, or
a higher attack angle is what they call it.
A higher attack angle. It's like a better approach angle.
Yeah.
But when you're coming down, it will allow you to curve. Like, either way, you'll be able to attack the mountain, or when you're coming down on a descent, it should help pull it around. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have no idea if it would have saved me or not.
Okay.
I mean, I want to say yes. Mm-hmm. But I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I was in his track on the driver's side, and I wasn't in his track on the passenger side.
Okay.
So I was in fresh powder.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, and the passenger side was the one that dug down. So maybe if I had it would have not dug down.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We did do a drag race in that front meadow.
Okay.
And I won in first gear, but then I missed second gear.
Oh.
And then the Gladiator, I think it was, pulled ahead.
Jimmy, you lost for all the Toyotas out there.
I know. Oh, well. And then that's when I realized that you're missing a bolt on your radiator fan shroud. Because after the fact, and I turned the truck off, it was your fan still goes.
Yeah.
And I was like, it doesn't sound normal. Like something's not right.
Something's vibrating.
Yeah. And I looked under there and I noticed that there was a bolt missing on 3 out of the 4, which I haven't fixed, by the way. I told you I would, but I didn't yet.
It's just I need to find the right bolt thread. I'll just take one of the other ones out and go find one.
Right.
Yeah.
So we ate lunch, hung out, and then we went out on another run.
Mm-hmm.
And that we went out on another run. We went to a trail that was uncut, no trail marker. So, and this is the one because we did end up dropping the snowboarder on the hill, and we had to. Nick saw on the Onyx Offroad or guy or whichever one he uses that there was another trail down below. Mm-hmm. And so he went down and he was cutting fresh tracks the entire way to go pick up the snowboarder. Mm-hmm. And then he turned around and came back and we went down to the lodge. Well, then he started looking on the map and he's like, that trail only comes out a little ways down further past Meadow Lake turnoff road.
Okay.
And then we could drive up the hill and cut fresh tracks all the way to his previous tracks.
Okay.
And I was like, sweet, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So that's when we got to the trailhead of the fresh powder. And that's when Dimitri had no brakes. And he's like, I don't really need brakes, but I want to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah.
And then, so we figured it out. His banjo bolt just came loose for some reason. Just snow. He said it's probably just snow getting stuffed in there and then turning and loosen something up.
It's an IFS issue. He needs to solid axle it.
There you go. Yeah. That too. He did tell me that tracks will not be on that 4Runner next year. Or on the Tacoma next year.
Is he doing something else?
He's doing something else.
Interesting.
He didn't know
selling
exactly
his tracks?
No. He's keeping them. Why, you interested?
I don't know. I might know some people that might be interested.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you're ruined now.
Yeah, sort of. It's fun for sure. But it's a niche of thing. You know, it only like
you have to have the right snow conditions.
You have to have
you can't just go out in any snow. It has to really need like 4 to 5 feet of snow.
Yeah.
And even then, like if it's all powder, it doesn't matter what you drive, tires or tracks, you're just going to go down. But like if you have layers of snow, like we finally got this year late in the season, it's so much fun.
Right. And the hard part for me is then you have to tow your rig.
Yes. That's the part that I have issues with as well.
You know, and so if you're going to go out, then you have to tow your rig to the snow. And I don't have a 4-wheel drive vehicle, 4-wheel drive tow vehicle.
Yeah.
So it makes me really limited on when I can go.
Yeah, true.
I can't drive up into the mountains while it's snowing because I don't have that vehicle.
Yeah.
So that all the stars aligned for this trip.
Nice.
So anyways, we went back and we went and wheeled this new trail, that fresh cut trail. And Kermit's a wide lady.
Big booty Judy.
Big booty Judy.
So fun fact, if you invert a rear track on Kermit, the axles are so wide that the tracks miss the body.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't even know. You know what you should do? You should just remove the limiting chains on the rear.
And just let it spin around.
Just let it spin around.
Do whatever.
Yeah.
I guess if it's not going to hit anything, there's no real harm to it.
That would be funny because then you wouldn't, like Ryan got stuck in the scenario where the limiting chain held the track at a funny angle.
Yeah.
Right. And he was trying to figure out how to get the track back under the rig.
Yeah.
Well, if he just let it go all 360, it would have drove itself back under.
Yeah. That or would have ended up on one of the top angles on the drive on the bottom. And then I don't know if
you just have to lift the vehicle then maybe.
Yeah. Anyways,
that could be a fun experiment too.
Yeah.
But we had a fantastic time driving up this freshly cut trail, our freshly cut trail. I was over driving Kermit and the power steering started to whine a little just because it was getting hot. And I stopped a few times to let things cool down. And I was learning, one, how to drive Kermit kind of a thing. And two, I was learning how to drive with tracks.
Yeah.
And it wasn't till later in the day that I realized that I don't need as many, as high RPMs as I expected I needed.
Yeah.
I could cruise at like 2,000,
Mm-hmm.
2,300.
Yeah, between 2 and I found that engine below 1,700 RPMs, it doesn't like to go. It just falls on its face.
Yeah.
And then above 2,800, it starts overheating. It really likes to be happy between 17 and 2,800 RPMs, and it'll go all day long, no matter what you want to do.
Sure.
In those RPMs, that range.
Yeah. And once I started figuring that out, like the driving experience just became so much easier.
Oh, cool.
Right? Because at first I was like, the very beginning of the day, I'm like, the oil pressure is super low. Oh no.
Yeah.
And then later in the day, I'm like, oh man, I'm overheating. And then a little later in the day, I was like, oh man, the power steering's getting super hot. And then the last few hours, I was like, this is fucking fantastic. Like, this is so much fun. I'm not concerned about the rig. I'm not concerned about hurting the rig. I'm not concerned about, getting stuck. I'm just out here having fun and with a bunch of cool dudes.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun.
That's cool. Yeah. I purposefully didn't give you any lowdowns on Kermit. I was like, you've been wheeling around Kermit a lot. We've talked on the podcast a lot. You've worked a lot on Kermit.
Yeah.
I was like, you'll be able to figure out anything.
Yeah.
Any little nuances, you'll be fine.
Right.
And then with the tracks, I was like, he's with 6 other vehicles that all have tracks and the owner of Rubitracks. Yeah. So I was like, you're going to be just fine.
Well, at some point, when the first time I stopped, or the only time that I stopped when the truck was overheating, or not overheating, but was at hot temperatures, and we were all waiting, I went and was talking to people. And I went up and I talked to Scott and I said, you need to ride with me. And he's like, oh, I'm planning on jumping around with everybody. I'm like, that's cool, but I want you in the rig.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not accustomed to this rig. 2, I've never been snow wheeling with tracks. This is day 1.
Yeah.
Like, I want to learn about tracks and I need to know what the limits are. And eventually he jumped in and I was like, okay, how fast can I go? Yeah. Like, am I allowed to go fast or is there an issue? And he's like, well, there's snowmobile tracks and they go like 60 miles an hour. So go as fast as you want. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what is the reduction on them?
The gear reduction on it. Yeah.
They're roughly 6% or 17%.
Okay. I never knew that.
Yeah. And I was like, but how is it a gear reduction? And I was like, how does that work? And mainly it's because the sprocket, you said, or the driver of the belt is so much smaller than any of our other tires.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's turning the belt.
Yes.
And so that's where the gear reduction comes from the size of the sprocket.
Yeah.
And that took me a second to figure out. And then I was like, how does side hilling work? He's like, that is one of the nemesises of tracks because it can push, the track could slide off the bogey wheels.
The bogey wheels?
Bogey wheels.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
If everything's tensioned properly and you're not at an super duper extreme off camber, you shouldn't have a problem.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, so what should I do? And he's like, have fun, man.
Have fun.
They're here for fun. You know? And then I started asking him some stuff that we'll get into in the future podcast. Cause I did sit down with Scott.
Oh, cool.
I got a podcast recording with Scott and I sat down with the other Canadians and got a podcast with them. So we're going to have a Canadian series of podcasts coming up here soon.
Perfect.
But yes, I definitely will talk about some of the finer detail about Rubitracks and how the company came about in a future episode.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Over the past week, the warehouse got broken into.
I heard. Yeah.
And so I had to go down to the warehouse at 3:45 in the morning, 4 a.m. And the sheriff that showed up, there was 3 sheriff that showed up. 2 of them were off-roaders.
Oh, nice.
So walking through the warehouse to look at how the thieves got in, broke entry into the warehouse, and everything. They saw the 4Runner on the tracks. And we just stopped for 20 minutes and they just asked questions about the tracks and the Rubitracks and the 4Runner in general. And I was like, this is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's fun.
So.
Yeah, they're really cool. Like when I drove home, left the lodge, I'll start there. After wheeling all day with everybody, we went back to the lodge to relax, decompress a little bit. That's when I got the second podcast recording. Dimitri was making a killer dinner and I had to apologize to him 5 times that I was leaving and not eating dinner. And I wanted
He didn't get you a pizza?
He still has not gotten us pizza. I really wanted to load up onto the trailer before it was dark.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of my goal.
I don't have rock lights back on the 4Runner yet. So
no, I was looking for them.
I know.
I was hitting all the switches up there. So I left. I was right at the tail end of dusk and dark when I loaded up.
Okay.
But I left and I drove like 30 miles an hour via the GPS, Lee's little computer GPS. I was doing 30 miles an hour on Jackson Meadows Road on the tracks, bombing just. That's cool. About as fast as you can go. I was keeping it under like 3,000 RPMs, and that was about it. That was, fifth gear, almost 3,000 RPMs.
Got it.
About 30 miles an hour.
Nice.
That was fun. But then I got home at like almost 10 o'clock at night. And I didn't want to like deal with reversing it into the driveway or anything. So I just parked it on the road. And the next day I got messages and calls from all my neighbors. They were like, what is that?
What did you get?
What did you get? I want to know more. Like, yeah, because the guy back here is in the Rock Zombies.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And then there's some kids up the way that are getting into Jeeps.
Okay.
That just bought, one of them just got a TJ.
Oh, bummer.
And then the people across the street have a 3-year-old that just loves big trucks.
Yep.
And I was like, come over and climb all over the rig.
Totally.
Have fun.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we saw that thing. We were so cool. Like, all right, we'll be over in a little while.
So there's a few kids in my neighborhood that whenever I go driving Kermit through the neighborhood to go out to work or something, they just stop and their jaws drop. Yeah. And I'm like, I made that kid's day today. It was cool. And I totally want to like drive the 4Runner on the tracks through the neighborhood, but you can't. No. Just to kind of be like, or like put a post up on Nextdoor or something, be like, hey, if anybody's kids want to come over and just see something really cool, bring them on over. It'll be here for the afternoon or something and park it outside.
The Ed up the road here, he drove by and he messaged me. He's like, what did you get? I'm like, it's not mine. It's my co-host, but it's pretty freaking cool. And he's like, I'm going to bring my dad by later.
Nice.
I'm like, all right, do it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So the neighborhood had fun looking at it for sure.
Nice.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. So. Yeah, it was a fun time. It was fun to meet Scott, fun to wheel with everybody. Always fun to hang out with Dimitri and Nick Bailey. Great group of people. And yeah, thanks for letting me borrow the 4Runner. That was on your birthday.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of birthdays, sort of, I know what I'm going to get you.
Okay.
I haven't got it yet though.
Okay.
but I know. All
right.
I'll have to, I'm not going to be able to get it before I leave for Cruise Moab, but you'll get it before the end of the month.
Okay.
How about that? All right.
Fair. Sounds good. I'm excited.
All right.
Yeah. That was it, man. It's good. It's good to catch up with you.
Yeah.
It's good to sit down and record a podcast. I think that you and I have this weird relationship where we don't talk about our personal lives together because we're like, oh, we got to save it for the podcast.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I feel like we kind of fell into that while I've been gone a little bit, except when I was over here chainsawing. Yeah. We got caught up there. But
and I called you on the way home and told you all about the 4Runner and the Rubitracks adventure. So, I mean, normally, for those out there, Tyler and I really don't talk all week.
It's weird
because when we get together, we don't want to be repeating ourselves again to each other. Right. So we hold our stories in and it's funny because like we're on multiple text threads, we're on multiple group messaging things. And we're always like, I saw you did this. And he's like, I can't talk about it.
I can't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's funny.
It is kind of bizarre, but it works from the podcast land. That's for sure.
Yeah. So good to see. Hi to everybody out there. Hopefully this will continue. We'll kind of play it by ear still, and see if we're still in a good pattern where I can feasibly get stuff done and have time to come out and podcast. And if not, then you might not hear from me next week, but hopefully you will.
Well,
so
maybe not.
Oh yeah. Cause you're going to Cruise Moab next week. So maybe I'll do an episode and put it out.
Yeah. I was somewhat thinking, I haven't talked to Lee about it. So Lee's been trying to do more podcasts. I don't know if
I saw him put one out.
Yeah. Okay. And he was going to go do an interview, or he wants to do an interview with Dimitri. I think, before he goes. So he went up to Reno this week.
Yes.
And on the way home, he stopped at your house.
Yep.
On the way home, he wanted to try to stop at Dimitri's and do an interview with Dimitri. And then he was talking about lining some up at Cruise Moab too.
Nice.
But I haven't talked to him yet. But one of the things I want to try to do, I don't know if I'm going to do it because it's going to be a bit of work, is after the Thursday run, I want to sit down and try to record a podcast with Lee.
Oh yeah, that'd
After
be cool.
the Friday run, I want to sit down and record a podcast. After Saturday, I want to sit down and record a podcast. So we can get like every like actual like, here's what we did today. Here's what's going on. Here's what, you know. I think that would be kind of interesting. And like, it'd be almost literally like you were there following along with us.
Yeah.
Which could be fun. But yeah, they might just be raw, unedited, like, here's this event.
Yeah.
So that would be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, it would probably come out. Yeah. Friday morning, Saturday morning, or Friday morning, Saturday morning, and Sunday morning.
Okay.
So
I don't know if there's a feasible way to do this. I know that there is a way. You just have to figure out how to do it. But Nate, Dirt Lifestyle Nate.
Yeah.
He did one of his trips on the Rubicon with his listeners trip. He recorded a bunch of the radio comms chatter and put it into his video.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like that would be a lot of fun to just record some of the chatter of the comms while we're out on the runs at Cruise Mo and put them into a podcast.
One of the Canadians said that there's radios that can take SD cards in the back.
Oh,
like a ham radios. And stuff.
There are definitely. Yeah.
And so I don't know if you can record the transmissions onto the SD card straight from there.
I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah.
I think your Yaesu does that.
Really?
There's an SD card in your Yaesu. I need to look and see if that's one of the functions of the radio to record everything.
That'd be neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be fun. I mean, definitely would be fun.
It wouldn't be as fun without me though, because I'm always trying to pick on the run leaders and see how they handle situations that I bring up.
Yeah, I don't know who the run leader is. So we're doing a Cane Creek first day.
Cool.
I don't know who the run leader is then. And then I'm doing Pritchett on Friday. And Lee, Delta Dave, and Morgan are all going to go do another trail.
They're not doing Pritchett?
They're not doing Pritchett. And then the guy that led Rusty Nail, I believe is the one that's leading Pritchett. So I already know that guy. And then I don't know who. Oh, then Morgan and Lee signed up to lead Behind the Rocks on Saturday.
Doesn't that have
that has high dive?
Yes.
Yes.
Do they Morgan and Lee?
I've sent them videos of all the rollovers that are happening on high dive. So there's 5 people signed up for Behind the Rocks.
Okay.
There's me, Lee, Morgan, and Delta Dave, and another guy. And the other guy is doing Pritchett with me.
Oh, okay. So he's got
at least an okay rig.
Yeah.
Right. Probably better than the other 3 guys. Yeah.
He has a rig that he's willing to roll.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. I have an inkling that it's the guy with was it a 2nd gen pickup last year that was on Metal Masher?
The blue one that tried to do a rock chucker with you?
Okay. I have a feeling it's that guy.
Okay. He was cool.
Yes. I have no idea, but I don't know why, but I have a feeling it's that guy.
Nice.
Anyways, you can bypass high dive. There's a bypass.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you watch a video, everybody's like turning down the ledge on high dive. If you stay driver,
you can go
down around it.
Okay.
So, but it was funny because Cruise Moab called us and was like, hey, you guys don't have a trail leader that day. There's 5 of you. Do you want to be the trail leader? And I got the call, but I got a call and then the lady text messaged me and I didn't get her back to her. And then Morgan, I'm in like a little group chat with Morgan and Lee and Dave. And Morgan's like, so the lady called me. They don't have a leader for Behind the Rocks. So I signed Lee up to be the leader.
Perfect. That's amazing.
Like, oh man. But I kind of wanted to do I think they were doing Cliffhanger. I think that was the other one.
I don't know if I'm too wide for Cliffhanger now.
You might be. I forgot. I think it's Cliffhanger. I forgot which one it was. But Brian Flynn, 17 Offroad, and almost a lot of the crew that are doing Pritchett with me on Friday are all doing Cliffhanger the next day.
On Saturday. Okay.
And so when when we heard that there was a trail leader, I was kind of like, maybe I can get into that cliffhanger run.
Yeah.
And I was like, can we get all 4 of them in? And there wasn't room. So I kind of stayed. Yeah. But it'll be a good trip. So
are you going to do high dive?
I don't know. I'll look at it.
I think you can do it in Bobcat. You're light enough where you can control and geared low enough. You can control your descent. You have a long wheelbase.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Bobcat is kind of built for high dive, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I did see a video of Affordable Bender and his big ass, big,
the full
size that went over there too. So yeah, we'll see. I'll take a look at it. I don't know. I'm not sure. It is the last day. So
right,
go big or go home.
That was my theory too. And we had a very long night that night.
We did have a very long night. And I got a college mate of mine, Paul, that's riding with me throughout the week, and
he'll have a good time. He'll enjoy.
I'm pretty sure he needs to be home on Monday, so we'll see how.
You're not going to spend a week in Provo this time?
I'm hoping not. No, actually, Clifford's at the shop right now. So I took Clifford down to Donnie, Donald, and Don's house.
Yeah,
and we did a lot of work on it. We did so the shop that I took it to quoted me $4,500 to fix the front end of Clifford, which was pretty much the axle pivot bushings, the upper and lower ball joints, tie rods. And I think that was about it. Air filter. I think that was about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was like, that's like $400, $500 in parts.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought them. Mm-hmm. It cost me $350.
Okay.
Everything but the inner tie rods. And went to his house, and we installed the axle pivot bushings, upper and lower ball joints, and driver's side tie rod, because the passenger side tie rod they gave me didn't fit. It was too small. So I went back to Napa, tried to have them exchange the tie rods. They didn't have they had the one that they gave me, they said is the largest tie rod that they stock, and the one that was needed to be bigger.
Jeez.
Yeah. So big thanks to Donnie for helping out.
Nice.
And getting all that done. And then I drove it up to go snow wheeling on Saturday after all that work. Worked fine. I drove it down on Monday. I had an alignment appointment.
Okay.
So I took it in on Monday morning, and I got a phone call at noon saying that they're not going to do any of the work because they found a crack in Clifford's frame.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, where? And they're like, it's right underneath the steering box. I'm like, okay, I'm going to come in and check it out. So I came in, took a look at it, and I was like, so you're going to have to remove the steering box to get to that crack, right? Because they were talking about welding it and everything. And they're like, yeah, we're probably going to have to pull that. I'm like, can you replace the steering box too?
Good new steering box.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure the steering box is bad because there's a ton of play in the steering wheel, and there's no play on the pitman arm.
Yeah. And
he's like, oh, let me look. And so he looked at it and he's like, yeah, I mean, it's not that bad, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
And I told him we tightened that top nut and all this stuff. And so I was like, yeah, do it. So it's like $2,500.
Wow.
They're aligning it, doing all the tie rods, they're welding the crack up, and they're putting a new steering box in.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I'm at the point now where it's like, that needs to get done.
Yeah.
While I'm working on Bobcat.
Yep.
Because I
don't have enough time. Yeah. You don't have enough time before Cruise Moab here.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, take care of it, get it done. I trust them.
Okay.
The shop's been around forever and a day. Clark's Frame and Alignment.
Nice.
They're fantastic. And I'm taking care of Bobcat right now. I'm putting the winch in. If we have time, I would love your opinion on where to put the top control box.
Okay. To relocate it.
If I'm going to relocate it, or if I should just cut the grill. I'm kind of what should I do? And then I bought a new power steering box for Bobcat too, which is supposed to be here later this week.
Okay. A new IFS box or
new IFS box.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Cause there's a weird spot in the steering where it locks up. And then it frees itself.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I am not, and this is the box, and I just got the post the other day on Facebook. One year ago, I rebuilt that box.
So yeah, I was going to say that box is rebuilt. And you're sure it's not your RAM lines getting caught on your pitman arm? Because I had that issue one time, and ended up being my my power steering lines for the Ram.
Yeah.
Getting caught on the pitman arm.
No, it's not. Okay. Yes, it's not that. And I thought it might have been the mount for my Ram hitting like a leaf spring or the body or the U-bolts or any of that. And it seems to happen even on flat ground. So I'm getting a new power steering box. Nice. It's just a lens.
Yep.
So yeah. So right now, currently, Clifford's missing a headlight and it has steering issues and has a vibration at like 70 miles an hour. Bobcat has a headlight out. It has steering issues and has a vibration at freeway speeds.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, got new headlights for Clifford. They're in the shop, and new headlights for Bobcat should show up today.
Nice.
I got ones with blinkers built in them.
Whoa. Yeah. Look at you go. Getting all fancy.
Yeah. They were like little LED ones too. They're pretty cool. Aux-beam.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I should have reached out to them, but I just bought it off of Amazon.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. So you are going to have a winch for Pritchett?
That's the goal.
All right.
I mean, it's sitting on a bumper, and the bumper has been drilled out and is fully attached to the vehicle right now.
Nice.
So I'm sort of there.
Nice. Cool. Sweet, man. Well, good. Hopefully Cruise Moab goes fun for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to watching the stories pop up on social media while you guys are out there. So
we're going to have fun.
Yep.
Yeah. Dave Morgan, which was like, what's his name? Dirty Koala or something like that on Instagram.
Like that, yeah.
So yeah, Lee, Dave from Delta Vehicle Dynamics, and Morgan and I, and then a few other people got a house together.
Nice.
And we're doing 2 out of the 3 runs together.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's going to be some shenanigans for sure.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, should be.
Yeah. That's all I got for this episode. So
sounds good. Do you have any final words?
Oh, shit. Tracks
for the win. And with that, my friends, don't forget, keep crawling. Do you have a joke?
Oh, I do have jokes. I got jokes.
Baby dad jokes? I mean,
I don't have any of those.
Oh, well.
Oh, here's one. My dad is exactly like Santa. This is Reid telling the joke.
Oh, okay.
My dad is exactly like Santa.
Oh, yeah?
I hear so many good things about him, but he only visits our home once a year and I never even see him.
Ouch.
Dun, dun, dun.
I hope that's not Reid talking.
No.